Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. Happy Saturday. I hope all is well. No periodic table, no alien talk this evening. However, you already know the creator came through with a message. Now, I told you guys, I got this cluster, right? I don't know what it is, but the wee hours of the morning, those witching hours definitely be witching, okay? And if you are tuned in any kind of way, now I see why the witches brew at that time, alright? Late night. The gates are definitely open, but this download did not come from that, okay? I got the download today, and I was in the bathroom. I noticed a lot of my downloads come in the bathroom. Whether I'm cleaning, in the shower, it doesn't matter. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe you experience that too. But the creator is so funny. So, I don't know. I thought it was a question, but it was not a question from me. I assumed at first initially that it was the creator, and then I realized that it was a message from my higher self. It was a question rather, and I didn't really start thinking about the planets and anything like that until later. But I was, and yeah, I'm a little froggy again today. I slept all day. I'm a little hoarse. But, yeah, all in all, I was sitting there and I was thinking, like, okay, I wasn't even sitting. I was in water, all right? I asked the question, or I heard the question, because it wasn't me asking the question. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. But are we all really one race, right? I was thinking, I was having a conversation and I had got off the phone already, and then I started to think about how we all have different geographic locations that make us different, right? Hear me out. Our bodies are made the same, and the environment, meaning food, culture, religion, the literal geographic location, the language you speak, it alters the way your brain functions. Just your everyday to-day life is focused around culture, and the culture is based on the environment, right? So then the creator was like, yeah, what do you think the human race is? Like, why do you think people say there's one race and it's the human race? And like I said, later I didn't start thinking about, because we had this conversation, right? About how we are different species of humans depending on the planet that we hail from. Your birth chart will give you an idea of, your planets and what types of species of humans are there, etc., right? We talked about that. We always do. But this was different, okay? It was basically about us literally being the same race in our geographic location, changing our genetic makeup. So much so that we have different physical, mental, emotional effects, and even spiritual, right? And I think that the spiritual aspect is where we start to realize how connected we are. And then it'll start to spill over into the physical. Like, no matter where you're from, God created you, and He created the human body, and He created all of, the organs and the meaning of their functionings. No matter where you're from, no matter what language you speak, no matter what your religion is, there are some core things that makes a human being in this dimension, like on this timeline. You need eyes, you need a heart, you need a spleen, you need a liver, you need a kidney, you need feet, you need teeth, right? You need ears, you need fingers. All of these things are like standard body parts and just parts of life. We're not mermaids, right? And this is why I said different species of humans in this dimension on this timeline, because mermaids, they are a species of humans that can alternate between different dimensions on this timeline, as well as others with their physical bodies. Okay, remember we talked about how the waters is a different dimension and how it can be split into different timelines, right? We talked about that. Same with the ethers. So as for us, the two-legged humans, that may be comprised of multiple different species, we still have standard things. And then I just started thinking about, my thoughts went a little deeper, and then the Creator just started giving me visions of islands, of how different people were pushed, they were pushed adrift, they were moved around and shuffled around. Some of us moved, as we know, involuntarily, others voluntarily. So even that aspect made it a little bit more interesting for me to start thinking, in terms of, okay, we already know people migrated, right? And I don't even think that these genetic, tests, these different genealogy tests are 100% accurate, not only because it's just like a wild guess, but is it really capturing all of the genetic sequences that you are connected to that have come before you? Or does it only go back a particular amount of generations? It's not telling a full story. It's just a couple of chapters, if that, right? And then I started getting the vision of the different islands. So I realized that some people who were pushed into these different islands, their genetic code changed. They were a part of a larger group, a larger society. So this only made the download make more sense, right? The gist of this conversation is we are all one race of people, and our color, our language, our blood type is based off of the the environment that we are in. So with that being said, it makes sense for us to be able to connect with one another in the spirit, because we have this frequency, this common frequency of not only being human. And I think the genealogy aspect of it was the part the Creator was trying to make the point. Like, we are mixed up. Like, you could look at a person and not think or assume that they are 30% British when they look black, right? Or 5% African when they look white, right? These physical appearances are based off of our environments, the things that are internal. And this is where I was saying where it spills over. Once you start making the connection of the things that make it spiritual, that's when it starts to make that connection. That's where that opening from the spiritual world starts to seep in. You start realizing, hey, we come from something a little bit greater than what's here, what's meeting the eye at this moment. And your understanding of all of that, excuse my voice, is going to allow you to start unraveling the different spiritual components. I mean, remember, we had the discussion of our ancestors not necessarily looking like us, and this would be why. Not only because our ancestors were mixed up, but we physically moved around so much that we've been in different environments. So it changes the way we think and function, right? So this would be similar to like an accent. I mean, you could go to one country and depending on where they are, what geographically is going to determine the accent, the jargon, the way they dress, a lot of different things. And these are all environmental factors that contribute to how you function as a whole. So before we go, I just wanted to make sure, I'm not suggesting that anyone goes and take a 23andMe, but I always encourage people to talk to the elders and just try to get a little bit more information of where they come from if you can get that. And it may not even make sense while you're listening unless you've already been asking the creator questions, and then you go and speak with the elders and they may be able to answer some of the questions that you had prior. But if you're just going and you're just getting random information, then a lot of it won't make sense until you start going through different phases and cycles. None of us have all of the answers, but if you can make a connection with any of your elders, then it would be beneficial to your physical and your spiritual and your emotional as well as your mental health. When you get a little idea of where you come from, what makes all of you, you start to become into a different type of equilibrium. I know when I went to my grandma's janaza or her funeral, it was really beautiful to see. They had 13 sisters, right? And she's like the baby of the sisters. So she has sisters that are, almost 90. They're in their 80s and 90s. And they're full of wisdom, full of life. I mean, if you look at them, you would literally think that they were like in their 60s and they're like in their 80s, still walking around, still strong. So I think these different components will allow you to start tapping in a little more, and it'll give you just a bit more clarity. But yeah, that was just the download, okay? We are one human race, and it's gonna take a while. Hopefully it doesn't take for something bad to happen for us to get to the point where we are understanding that in full. But we are definitely one race of people, and our differences is only based on our geographic location. That's what changes everything. But outside of that, I mean, of course, your beliefs and your purpose, but outside of that, we are the same. Alright? But I'm going to end it here. I do love y'all. Hope y'all are enjoying your weekend. I hope you are drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea because it's free. Love y'all. Peace.